Good evening. I'm Socrates Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American-owned broadcasting studio. WeBelieveDigital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. On We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again. Good evening and welcome to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the deep, deep South. My co-host, Dr. Eldridge Henderson, and I are coming to you each Friday, 5 p.m. to talk about what's going on in the diaspora, the African-American community, specifically what's happening in Jackson, Mississippi, and the state of Mississippi, and then we move on to national news. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook, we want you to share this program with your friends and family and send us stars. We need your financial support. This program is critically important, so we need your support. Now, if you're watching us on YouTube, we want you to go on and subscribe to this program. We have a campaign now to get our subscribers up. So you'll see things going on like shorts and reels and cross-posting on all social media platforms. And hopefully we'll get people interested enough to come back and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We would appreciate your support there. As a matter of fact, you can go there now and subscribe to We Believe Digital. It's critically important for us. Now, if you're watching us on our very own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com, then we want you to hit the donate button, and we want you to share this program with your friends and family. Now, our platform is a little bit different. You know, we have a page over on YouTube where it houses all of our shows, but on our platform, we have categories, and each program is entered into a specific category. For example, if you are a minister and you want to get your program out all over the world, then you would send your feed to We Believe Digital, and then we would put that under the category of inspiration. Now, under inspiration, you would have your own channel. That's right. You got your very own channel, which all of your information is housed there. And then on Sunday morning, let's say that's when you want your program to be aired. On Sunday morning, your program would be available to the viewing audience throughout the world. And I don't care if we have 10 pastors going live at 8 o'clock on Sunday morning. Our system has the capacity to handle that. So we are a little bit different with our platform. We are, in fact, a network. So we'll have a lot of different categories that you can choose from. Sports, for example, some of the greatest shows of all time are housed right there under the category of sports. But interestingly enough, now you can scroll down and you can go to We Believe Radio. That's right, our internet radio station has launched. And we're playing gospel music 24 hours a day. And it's being heard and listened to all over the world. And so we have unique concepts, and we need your support there on our very own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com. And then on these podcast shows, these broadcast shows that we're bringing you, the next day, the audio of this program will be aired on the internet radio station all across the country. And we have many networks from all over the country that are asking and seeking our content, that we can share our content on their platforms, etc. And we're happy to do that. we believe that, a rising tide can float all boats. And so, especially in the African American community, we got to learn how to work together, how to make things work, and how to pool our resources and build our economy so no one can ever take it away from us. That's critically important. We don't have an economy today, but they had one back when they had Black Wall Street, and then it was taken away. And so we want to build a sustainable economy that impacts African Americans throughout this country. Now, as you see on the backdrop here, we have a commercial there that's sitting there, earthblendcoffee.co. Now, Earth Blend Coffee is sponsoring this show. It's the greatest coffee that you're ever going to have a chance to drink. Go to earthblendcoffee.co and order online. Our 12-ounce bag is $9.99. A 2-pound bag is only $25 online. We'll ship it anywhere in the world. We appreciate the support of Earth Blend Coffee as they bring you these programs on the We Believe network. So it's critically important that we do that. We have a program coming up very shortly where we're going to be doing tremendous amount of fundraisers inside of our religious organizations, specifically using Earth Blend Coffee. So we look forward to launching that program, and it'll be a revenue sharing program back to our religious organizations. Our goal is to make absolutely certain that if you are an influencer, or you're a minister, or you're a community leader, that you have the ability to reach the audience. Sometimes you might feel like you're John the Baptist out in the woods and nobody hears you, but you can be heard. You can be heard right here through We Believe Digital. Reach out to us at 800-492-5186. That's 800-492-5186. We need your support. Dr. Henderson.
Yes, sir.
It's good to be in the studio with you again this Friday evening. You look like you're ready to go. You got things on your mind. People are calling you and asking you to speak at organizations all across this country.
Well, I'm ready, sir. I'm always ready, and I do appreciate the opportunity that I have to work with you and other community organizations in Mississippi and other places. All we need to know is what they want us to talk about, and every time we give them their problems and their solutions, and we're just prepared to address our issues. We don't have but 5 that we deal with: economic development, religion, leadership, education and training, and politics. And we have over 200 different topics that's associated with those 5 areas. And since we have done so much research for the last 30 years, we can tell almost anyone that has a problem how to resolve it if they want to do it in 30, 60, or 90 days.
Well, that's tremendously important. So you're not only going to get good information, you're going to get information that you can use, practical information that you can put in place tomorrow. Now, Dr. Henderson is recognized all over this country as one of the best speakers and orators that we have out here today. I know that you're speaking in several places this weekend.
Yes, I have 3 opportunities. We've been very fortunate. We have 3 different groups in the state of Mississippi that's going to hear from us. They invited us to come and talk to them on Saturday. And we have a tight schedule on Saturday, but we have one rule that we don't break. We're always on time, and we have content and information that the people can use.
Now, when you say we're always on time, African Americans have a history of CPT, colored people's
but
time.
I don't play with that. If I have to go on stage at 3 o'clock, 4 or 5, I am always prepared to be standing up at least 2 minutes before that time, so I can rush out there and do what I do.
How did you learn how to be timely?
Military. That military taught us that. We were always encouraged to be there early, be on time, and be prepared. We were told that if you are not on time, you're going to miss something, plus you're going to be punished. And if you're not prepared, you might have an early exit home. And that means, of course, you might get yourself messed up and they ship you home in a casket.
Look out, look out. Now, I do remember about the discipline of the military, and I know we're going to get into the program,
Yeah.
but, I'm inspired, and I recall things as we talk and have dialogues. I do recall my being drafted in the Army, and the drill sergeant, which was brutal at the first time. He didn't greet me with, hello, how you doing? He hit me in the chest and told me to fall in line. And I thought that was a little bit over the top, but I learned that that was just a normal way of life.
That's correct.
In the military. And then one day he told me, he said, soldier, I'm going to tell you to roll, and on the first time that you hear my command, you do exactly what I say do. And I thought to myself, I may do that, and I may not do that exactly when you say do it. I have some decision to make as to whether or not I want to do it or not. And he said to me that, well, the reason that you only going to get one chance to do what I tell you, he said, because the next split second, you'll be dead, and you won't have a decision to make. If I tell you to roll, you need to roll then. And so I learned from that harsh treatment was building the discipline inside of me to keep me alive.
That's right, and the good part about it, it could apply to all aspects of your life, no matter what you were going to do at the present and the future. If you learn things that's going to help you move from where you are to where you want to be, and practice that every day, you cannot fail. You just can't fail. Now, things will slow down, but you will have enough discipline and expertise and training, of course, to move into the area and eliminate that little old shadow that was in your way and go around it and still be successful. That's why you are taught in the military that your job is to always win. Even though you know you're not, but you have been brainwashed to believe that you're supposed to win, and you do everything you can to be a winner. You don't want to be conceived as a loser. No,
there's no room for losers. I recall the very first order that we were given. It was, I will not leave my post until I'm properly relieved. That means that if my shift was 8-hour shift, but my replacement didn't come, I must stay there.
That's correct.
As long as it takes, because I will not leave my post until I'm properly relieved. That's discipline. We don't have that in our young soldiers today.
Well, that's because the parents and the other people that we call guardians didn't teach it to them. The young people now that are being taught are not taught the way they were 15 or 30 years ago. They sort of make their own decisions. Most parents that I know and guardians do two things for the kids. They get them in the world and they feed them, and some of them give them a place to live. And that's about it. They have no other discipline. They get up when they get ready to go to bed when they choose, take the phone to bed with them. If they go to school, they don't have to have a lesson or homework done. And they could go to school, get on the bus, get off the bus, and go anywhere they want, catch the bus in the evening and go back home. Parents don't demand to see what they have learned that day, no homework. And then they get concerned when they get around the 10th, 11th grade, some 9th grade, and they want to drop out.
Well, Doc, parenting is different today than it was when you and I came along. We had the discipline. Not only did we get the discipline from our parents, then we got the discipline in organizations like the military. So we were disciplined soldiers, trained assassins. We have the ability to survive. I used to tell my employees here, I said, it don't rain in the Army. It rains on the Army. It's a big difference. So don't tell me anything about it's raining. And so when I try to instill that in my employees, they laugh at me and they rebuke that. But in fact, I'm trying to let them know that nothing gets in our way of what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, you're supposed to have a rule that I had some years ago. There should be two things that ought to keep you from being where you're supposed to be and doing your job. One is, if you wake up in the morning before work and your house is on fire, I will give one an opportunity to call in and say, my house is on fire, may I have an hour or two late? And you wake up and find that you are dead. Then I'll let you pass with that. But otherwise, I don't want to hear no excuse. Don't want to hear it.
Yeah, and so parenting, though, is different today, Doc.
Of course.
Now, they don't have that kind of discipline. They don't believe in clocking in at 8 o'clock and working 4 hours and go to lunch for an hour, have a 15-minute break in between and go to lunch for an hour and come back and work to 5, get off and go home. They don't do that anymore. They're working remotely a lot. They just doing, the world is different than the world that you and I grew up in. So I don't know if you and I understand the mentality of the generation that's here today.
Well, believe it or not, Mr.
They call that Gen Z or something.
That's right. Well, I understand the mentality, and I know what's going to happen to them.
What's that?
They're going to be living a longer life, but they're going to have more mental and physical pain. They're going to have serious economic problems. They're going to have less economic security. Most of them will not own a home. They will not own a used car at any given time. And all of them mostly will be dying in debt, even though many of them will have excellent education, but many times you will see they didn't use those skills they learned in school. They were working so much, getting loans and wasting time. They didn't get the expertise they need in their field. So when they finish a 4-year program in 6 or 7 years, they go back to a job that they could have gotten when they got out of high school 5 or 6 years previous.
And if that job is going to be there, you see, I'm afraid that the job won't be there. There is no need for soldiers anymore in the military. And the young African-American males especially had an opportunity to get out of a dire situation by joining the military, as you did, and see the world and get disciplined and learn about cultures, become educated, indoctrinated, and then return home and make a decent life for yourself. But there are no need for soldiers anymore. Technology has changed. Artificial intelligence is ruling the world today. And so I'm afraid that there is no need for this population, this unskilled population that we have.
Well, you're exactly right. Now, to give you an example, I don't want to talk too much about it, but when I had a chance to get involved in the military, I didn't have, but there were no real regulations that you had to be at least 17 years of age. You had to have 10 fingers and 10 toes, and you had to know how to say yes, sir. And I met all those qualifications. They'd not talked about no educational skills because they would give you a little test, and they had about 200 plus different MOS, military occupation specialties, and they would put you somewhere. And if you didn't qualify for anything, they had somewhere to put the non-qualifiers. They put you in the kitchen or they put you in the infantry. And you learn how to cook and you learn how to fight. Because they knew that if you were halfway ignorant and you couldn't follow orders and learn how to protect yourself on the battlefield, you were going to be replaced anyway soon because you would get yourself messed up. And they had thousands of them in line for that. And
Thousands of young boys
were coming from Georgia, Mississippi, all over the South and all over the United States, getting out of those rural areas in Montana and Oregon and other places, getting into the military because they had a vision that if I can hang in here and get out, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to leave this town.
But that opportunity doesn't exist today.
It's gone, sir.
It's gone today. So what happens with Pookie and the gang that's here today? I mean, how do they get out, Doc?
They don't get out, but they see the people, I call it the human enemies of mankind, already know this before Pookie knows about it. They are thinking about Pookie. They're thinking about him, and they got somewhere for him. They have a minimum wage job, and they know he's not going to stay there long. He's going to be moving around every 6 weeks. And they have something called a correction institution, because he's going to have to do a little stealing and a little killing and a little robbing to survive, because he wants to have a nice car to ride in, nice clothes, and some sneakers. Wants some Air Jordan. I hate to say this, but his parents can't do it, because they did just what he did. Didn't finish school, didn't get a skill, or finish school and still didn't have a skill. So he is going to do some things that's going to get him messed up. I call it messed up. And his little sister going to do the same thing. So when they get about 20 years of age, they will have some serious problems, and the economic situation will be so messed up, it will take an angel and a religious counselor to almost get them straight before they're 30 years of age.
Wow. I don't have my timepiece on me out there, so I don't know if we're close to a break, but I want to continue this conversation now. Because you and I have to sound the alarm that there is no need for an unskilled population.
No need whatsoever. It's like a sin to be 18 to 30 years of age at this time. Today, I believe, is June the 3rd. It ought to be a sin, and one ought to be fined if they don't have a skill in the next few years. It's like they used to have that poll tax on you when you were getting ready to vote. You know, they had the poll tax and all that kind of thing. You had to interpret the Constitution. It ought to be that strict. It ought to be a fine against people that don't look out for themselves and try to learn something and get the skills they need to be competitive, that'll keep them in a position where they can have their goods and resources that they need to be independent and not be dependent on the government or relatives and friends.
Well, even the change that I'm watching in society today is people are preparing to leave Earth and build colonies on Mars, and they're making trips to the moon regularly. And there's courier services now. You can book a flight to Mars now, and you leave here when you get ready. And it sends a signal, Doc, that Earth may not be the future of the great population. And I don't believe that unskilled people will be able to escape. They can't get to Mars. They can't get to Jupiter. They can't leave. They couldn't get out of New Orleans when Katrina came.
That's exactly right. And the human enemies of mankind know that. I told you, these folks plan things 30 and 40 years in advance. So when they have the price now to prohibit even the so-called upper class person that's not totally knowledgeable about what's going on in the future, he can't even get a ticket because it costs $2 or $3 million. And they have no intention of letting the poor man go up there, and especially the black ones. They want to get away from here. In just probably 50 to 100 years, they're going to have these mobile colonies, cities, flying around all up in outer space. And they're going to look down, because they have these radar systems now. They can look down on the ground, find a penny, and tell what year it was minted. And they're going to say, now, them Negroes down there, the poor Native Americans and others, we're going to take care of them. I guarantee
We're getting ready
to say it. I hate to say it. That's the future. That's the way those people think.
Well, we're going to have to do something about that. You and I are going to sound the alarm. We're going to come up with a plan.
That's right.
That circumvents us from being totally unprepared for the changes that are going to come shortly.
I already have that plan. I have that plan. I've been talking about it for a while. And a few people, believe it or not, sir, a few are listening and doing something. I had somebody in my office today that's a certain age, not happy with his status. And he said, I am going to do something, and I'm going to prove it to you, because I'm going to look at your prioritized corrective action plan. I gave them a checklist and a timeline with a date on it, and they say, I'm going to do it, and if I don't do it, I'm going to pay you. I said, good. If you're going to do that, I'm not going to charge you anything today. But every 2 weeks, you just call me. I have this sheet, and you have your sheet, and we're going to look at it.
Look, we're getting ready to go to station break. You're watching Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting out all over the world. If you're watching us on Facebook, once again, hit the stars and send us stars and share this program with your friends and families. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. We are in a subscription campaign. So we're putting up a lot of shorts and reels on YouTube so that you can see some of the highlights, and hopefully you will pique your interest enough to watch the full program. We understand that the attention span of the youth today is very, very short. And so we're going to do everything that we can to post through social media, through all social medias, Snapchat, it doesn't matter, TikTok, IG, Instagram, Facebook. We're going to be deploying our message through all social media in hopes that we can gain the respect and the appreciation of our viewership out there. Now, if you're watching us on WeBelieveDigital.com, then we want you to go ahead and hit the donate button. Send us some funds. Help us finance this program. It's critically important, and our content is being sought after all over the world. So we look forward very shortly. It won't be long now before you'll see Dr. Henderson and I in Hollywood, presenting shows like this and having real producers and the ability to bring this kind of content to the greater community. But he and I are rooted in the African American community and have had the opportunities to leave here years and years ago, and we chose not to. We decided to stay in the trenches, stay in the battles, to fight for our people, to try to find a way to improve the economic conditions and the quality of life for black folks in the poorest state in the nation. That would be Mississippi. Now, we want you to stay tuned. We'll be right back after this commercial.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, Keepers of the Knowledge for People Who Speak the Truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Welcome back to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the deep, deep South. You know, African Americans are greater than 40% of the state of Mississippi. You know, at one time in Mississippi, there were more African Americans than there were Europeans. And so many people don't know that. My co-host, Dr. Eldridge Henderson, has said on many occasions that the slavery could have been ended in 60 days had we had the desire and the willpower to come together and fight together, and we could have ended slavery. But that didn't happen. And so we find ourselves now in Mississippi, and we have some remnants of that that's still going on in here. It's a different kind of slavery. It's, it's a technological slavery now. We deal with racism today, but we don't see it the same way that we saw it when the master was sitting atop his white horse and walking through the field with his whip and would pop you with the whip when he didn't think you were producing enough. And when you got to the end of the row in the cotton field, if you didn't have 300 pounds in that sack of cotton, then you were going to get beat. You were going to get whipped. And those days are gone. I recall us as young boys trying to do everything we possibly could to try and make certain that we didn't get in trouble. Sometimes we would put water in our cotton sack. And the cotton sack was 8, 10, 12 feet long. And you had to pull that cotton, pick that cotton, and at the end of the row, when you went to the scale, then you better have 150 to 200 pounds in that sack. And if not, you were going to be dealt with right there on the spot. Those days are gone. We're dealing with issues now that are pretty much invisible, that we don't see what's happening to us, and we don't know who is doing it to us. All we know is that the quality of life is deteriorating in 2023 in the African American community. So we know something is going wrong. Something is rotten in Denmark. We have the highest poverty rates that we've ever had in our communities. We have more people with mental illness than we ever had in our community. We have more broken homes, the highest divorce rates than we ever had in our community. Fewer people are going to church than ever before in our community. So all of these negative things are going on and increasing in our community. And we don't know what the root cause of that is. It can't be genetic. There's not a group of people who are just born lazy and shiftless and no good. It can't be that. It's got to be the fact that the lack of preparation and the lack of opportunity are greater than our ability to overcome. Let me say that again. It's got to be that the lack of opportunity is greater than our abilities to overcome the issues that we're dealing with. Because we don't even see what's happening to us. We see the results of it, but we don't see it. Case in point, the introduction of crack cocaine in our communities had a tremendous impact on where we are today, even though it was introduced back in the early 70s, late 60s. But it's still the primary factor. Here we are now, 60 years later, and we're dealing with the issues of that drug. And how many families and how many children it destroyed. And yet, it destroyed whites as well as blacks. And yet, we didn't even see it coming. We didn't recognize it was there. As a matter of fact, we in many ways were gullible enough to believe that that lifestyle was something that we could boast about. And so as a boy, we read books like Iceberg Slim. Now, many of our youth never read that book, but it was the greatest book of all time. But it had to do with the industry of pimping and the industry of prostitution, and which was the very first industry that was in the African American community. You have to go back and look at those things. I mean, for those guys to rise to power and position and money, it was based upon the industry of whiskey and prostitution, and then became drugs. And lots of movies have been made about all that. You've all seen them. But we didn't understand the damage that was being done in our communities. and the impact that it's having on our children in 2023, because there is no father and mother in the home. Now, when Dr. Henderson and I came along, there was a man and a woman in every household. And sometimes men might have had two households, but there was a man in every household. And I remember clearly that my Uncle John had two families. You know, they were in the same county, two families. And when the mother of 6 children died, he brought all 6 children to the house to his wife, and she cared and nurtured those children. And so they were never without a father. But that's long gone, and we don't even know what's happening to us. Dr. Henderson, I said a lot, but I don't believe we have a clue as what's causing the African American community to deteriorate and decline, and the quality of life is going down below when you were on the plantation.
Well, I don't think a lot of people understand it. Most people have that blinder on. They think everything is fine in America. And that's because they're looking at all these reality TV shows. Everyone has a cell phone, and they can click through it and see heaven on earth. And they think that applies to them, but it doesn't. They don't look at the fact that they have no restraints on immigration that's significant. They don't look at the fact that the population is going to be increasing 3 to 7% because they done stopped murdering babies. They passed a bill that eliminated abortion. Now, you know, abortion is nothing but legalized murder. And most Democrats and many Republicans endorse that, but the legislatures in the minority went on and passed restrictions against this legalized murder. So now you have thousands and thousands of kids that would have been killed in less than 9 months after reception. They're going to be killed now, or the mom's going to try to kill them. So that's going to be a significant problem with this unlimited immigration, all these kids coming into America, and then you're going to have that group that's going to be suffering tremendously. Millions of kids. The public school system is not programmed to take care of the masses like that. I tell people, and been saying it for years, the public school system only takes care of 10% of the students. The others that get through usually get through by social promotion. Then you find that the people that finally make it out, most of those can't pass a test to get a certification in anything. So they have to struggle out there and work for minimum wage or less. Then you find that when you get in a position where you have all that great economic need, you see that stuff that I mentioned on social media, new cars, new homes, new clothes, and you go around and can't even get a job because you have no skills, and you see those same immigrants that came over here, many of them don't know anything about English. You want to know, how can they get all the jobs? They get the jobs because they work for less until they enhance their skills, and then they have enough sense to start their own businesses, even though they might start small, as a landscape artist, as a cleanup team. And then when you know anything, they on top of the house with the contract themselves, putting up the roof, putting in air conditionings, putting up the gutter system, doing major landscape projects for big companies, and the black man looking at them and criticizing them and won't do what they did. Go and get a job where you learning on the job, OJT training. Go with someone that's already working and say, I work for you 6 months free, part-time, while I do my other job to learn these skills. If you don't know or think you have the ability to get certified in anything, go to the computer and learn through YouTube how to get certification in whatever you want to do. You do not have to waste a lot of time in school these days. Black folks and poor folks got to learn this.
Well, Doc, we gotta help them. We gotta help them understand that if they don't change their ways, change their behavior, that the rough times are ahead. Now, 2 black boys today went in crystals over on Ellis Avenue in Jackson, Mississippi, and robbed it in the middle of the day. Now, they didn't rob it because they were hungry. They didn't take any hamburgers. They took the cash. Now, obviously, their need was great enough to risk their entire beings, all of their freedom, and we're having this every day. There are more African Americans locked up in Mississippi prisons than in a third world country based upon our per capita, the number of people that we have here in Mississippi. Got more people locked up already. And now we're making these brazen crimes and high unemployment and high poverty rate. Now, something bad is going to happen if you and folk like you don't step in as elders and say, this is the direction we must go in. We're missing elders now to step in and say, these are the directions. Well, I've seen this before, because you lived through the plantation. You survived it. You've seen hard times before, and you thrived and overcame it. But you're going to have to tell others how to do that now.
Well, that's what we do, but I tell you, I don't want to just be so specific on it, but most people that need these kind of things, these kind of skills or this information, don't want to hear it. And if you are talking about it and they hear a little of it, they're going to leave it because they feel guilty. When you feel guilty, you feel that you've been left out, you don't understand what people are talking about, you didn't get this kind of information at home. When you went to school, they ignored you in school, in the public school system that they attend in most cases. All the teacher wanted them to do is sit up there and be quiet, boy. And they didn't figure they didn't know anything. Many of them were sharp as a tack, but if you don't ever call on him or give him an assignment or allow him to come up and talk in class and let that 10%, the teacher's daughter or son, do all the presentations and be the cheerleader, and all that little poor black boy can do is play a little football and basketball. And then he didn't have to learn anything academically. All he had to be good at shooting and running that ball. And he could get a scholarship almost anywhere. And of course, he wasn't qualified academically, but this is a fact, and I've mentioned this to you some time ago. Those coaches would say if that boy can run that ball, make 3 or 4 touchdowns per game, make 30 points a game, I guarantee you he can go to the big college anywhere in America, even though he's not qualified, even though he dropped out of school mentally in the 4th grade. But football, basketball kept him in. I can get him at Yale, Harvard, University of Mississippi, Jackson State, Alcorn in 6 months. So in his 12th grade year, he's been in the newspaper everywhere for 5 or 6 years. The coach will go over, talk to his parents, pull him out of public school, put him in a private academy somewhere away from the parents, and say, we're going to get your boy ready. We're going to get him a big scholarship. Now, what can I do for you? I'm not going to go any further and tell you what the parents say, what you can do for me. They let that boy or girl go, and in 6 months, he is playing at a top-tier university.
But he can't read.
Can't read. He doesn't have to read. He can run the ball or shoot it. Now, they know he's not going to finish. They try to get him ready for pro. That's what they told him. You're going to be a pro. So that boy has one thing on his mind. I want to be a pro football or basketball player. And now, you know, soccer is getting popular, but blacks not getting that too much. Oh, I want to do whatever I do. I want to be going professional. I want to sing. I'm a rapper. I'm going to make $400 million. And they say, of course you can. Now let me help you with this. I'm going to get you some tutors, and I'm going to get you some managers and advisors. And since you are very busy, you're very popular, I don't want you even to worry about the bookkeeping or anything like that. I got somebody to do that. And you sign this piece of paper, and I've mentioned this for years, and give us the power of attorney. What is that? What is power of attorney, boss? Well, that's where I'll take care of you, young man. I'll take care of you. You give him the power of attorney. And when you do anything, you have a new advisor coming. They're going to assign an advisor to you. If you are a male, they're going to give you a female advisor to travel around with you, set your schedule. If you're a female, they're going to give you a young male advisor to travel around with you, take care of you. And when you know anything, you're getting ready to marry them. And that money end up with the coaches, the schools, and the business people. And you don't have anything after you get out of those professions. That is hard to talk about, but it's a fact. I could name at least 100 people, males and females, black and white, that have fallen for this because they didn't know. The parents didn't know.
And Doc, the lack of knowledge, the people perish.
Every time.
Every time. And that's what this program is designed to do, designed to inspire, designed to bring knowledge and awareness, some structure and some strategy that we must deploy if we are going to survive in this new world that's dealing with technology. We're no longer in the Industrial Revolution. We have moved beyond the information revolution. We're now in the technology revolution, where artificial intelligence will rule the world. Many times when you make a phone call now, you're not talking to a person. You don't even know what the person's name is, because it doesn't have a name. Because you can name a artificial intelligent person anything you want to. You can call them 225-3. It doesn't matter. The world is changing, and African Americans need to get ready for the things that are occurring right here today. The future is now. It's right now. Now, we're going to take this station break, and we're going to come back and deal with our very last segments. You stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur, but you're not sure where or how to start? At Entrepreneurs Academy 101, our online program will guide you step by step on how to start and grow your own business. We offer courses such as how to write a business plan, how to create a budget, and so much more. Our online training program is designed for you to learn at your own pace, and there's no set order to complete this program. Because our academy is online, you have the choice to learn with a group, with friends, or individually. Upon completion of the entire curriculum, you will receive a certificate of achievement to acknowledge that you have completed the training needed to become a successful entrepreneur. So enroll today to design the life that you love. Contact your entrepreneur coach, Brenda Myers, at 601-672-0695 or visit our website at www.entrepreneursacademy101.com for more information. Socrates Garrett ENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. Socrates Garrett ENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.
Wedding, milestone anniversary, or corporate event, 5-Star Lodge is the rustic elegance you need for your event space. With hardwood and stunning chandeliers, this is just the beginning of the 5-star treatment. Our on-site venue manager will ensure all details exceed your expectations. We offer a luxurious bridal lounge, beautiful reception hall, cabins, and an outdoor pavilion on the water. Visit 5stareventlodge.com to get started on your most memorable experience.
Welcome back to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the Deep South. Dr. Henderson and I have been having a conversation, and sometimes the conversation is a little depressing. Sometimes when we really take a close look at our situation and where we are today, it is depressing. Sometimes, we find ourselves as a hopeless people. Sometimes we've been overwhelmed. We have been overcome with the obstacles and the lack of opportunities and the inability to provide for our family and friends. Our business community is suffering tremendously. We get less than 2% of contracts for goods and services from the state of Mississippi, yet the African American population is 40% greater in the state. But we don't do any better under African American leadership, and this calls for a great pause. In a city like Jackson, Mississippi, which is 85 to 90% black, we get less than 10 to 12% of contracts for goods and services out of that city. And so the issue and the problem is widespread. And the conversations go that we can't find anybody qualified, no one has the capacity, and that's been going on now for 200 years. The only time we had real capacity was when we were back in slavery. Then we could do anything. We could build anything. We built City Hall down in the city of Jackson. We built all the courthouses. We built all of the roads and highways. As long as we were working for the man, we could do anything. We're no longer with the man, then we can't do anything. I can't find any qualified people. And so we got issues that we got to deal with here. There's something happening to our people, and we better bring some light to it. Now, always, I want to thank those individuals that are consistently sharing and watching We Believe. Floyd Lewis, we appreciate your comments and your time that you put watching this program and helping us move this dialogue forward. We appreciate Chris for your loyal support, and Ms. Jones. We appreciate you guys, and I know you're watching now and having the ability to share with us anytime you like at 800-492-5186. We appreciate your support. Now, Dr. Henderson, this is our last segment, and I know you want to bring solutions. You don't want to just talk about the problem. You don't like to criticize. You say we shouldn't criticize, we must organize. That's one of your favorite slogans. But you got a lot of things that you got to organize out of. You mentioned that we got 3 million more children coming into the community than we had before they enacted the abortion legislation. And that's going to have a profound impact on our community, and especially in one where you got a poor state in the nation. And Doc, there are things here that predator lenders all around us every day in payday loans and pawn shops and the lottery and pari-mutuel betting. All of those things are being pushed at our population that is unqualified to deal with the issues in front of it, and will find itself as a permanent underclass. And I've heard you use that term a lot. What's your thought on this 3 million and all of these things that they're up against?
Well, the problem is it's just what you mentioned. We're going to have an increase in the poor and black population and immigrants in America going forward. And I would say in the next 7 years, it's going to be serious. People will not realize how things going to change in the next 7 years, population-wise, and what's going to happen to them. Now, the legislature already know about it. The legislatures know that we are going to have to subdue these people. We're going to have to make a defined area for these poor folks. They are going wild. We know they are battered up right now. So since we can't wait forever, we're just going to have to pass legislation to control the poor people and make sure that they are taken care of. So the legislature's now saying we don't not worry about voting. You don't have to worry about voting. So you don't have to worry about managing your resources. You don't have to worry about your police forces. You don't have to worry about judges and sentencing your people. We'll do it for you. And that's exactly what they're doing. And the next thing they're going to do something that they've always done. They're going to set certain areas for these poor folks, poor whites, poor blacks, to live. And I've been telling people for years that when this happens, they're going to have you locked in, and they will do everything they can to fix it where you fight among yourselves. And they're going to have you locked out and locked in. But now the solution to this is for the people in our community to say, well, we do have some proposed problems in the next few years. Can we look at the school system to solve these problems? Of course not. That's why we have been saying to people for some years now, the churches and the community organizations are going to have to get together and form collaborative programs for the church and the community organizations to teach kids the things they're not learning in school: financial literacy, civics, negotiation skills, how to build drones. Have to teach them about the Constitution and their rights. Have to teach them that you must get certification in certain areas to be proficient to get a job. You must be in a position where you make your own laws, so you got to teach them civics so they'll learn the duties and responsibilities as to voting and how to get in a position to be in leadership. You're not going to get taught this in school. Not the 90%, the 10% might, but when they do that, they'll be running under the control of the people that give them that education. They are going to do just like they are doing. When they get in office, they are not going to give their peers contracts. When they get to be the superintendent of education, they are going to do the same thing, teach that 10%. They're not going to be bold enough, the school boards and the superintendents, say, now we have 90% of our students not doing well. We know they're not going to finish school with other than a D plus or a D minus average. So right now in the 7th grade, we're going to start vocational and technical programs for them so they can get a certification that's going to give them the ability to start their own business when they turn 18 or get a job working with an organized structured business to make $18 to $30 or $40 an hour. That can be done almost overnight. But the system is set up where the superintendents and the school boards are afraid to say that because they'll get cut off. The churches and community organizations are not organized to do that, and they have the resources and the skills to do it. Every church that I know that have 200 or 300 or 2,000 or 3,000 members have the lawyers and the doctors and the skilled people to do anything they need done. They can teach any kind of skill, but they think the public school ought to do it. They're not going to do it, and they're going to be doing less. So these churches can pool their resources on a denominational basis, get with the neighborhood associations, the trade associations, and get these short-term programs and give certifications instead of degrees, so one can be a medical technician. One can be a plumber, air conditioning specialist. One can learn to fly an airplane. They have an airplane program at a community college right here in Hinds County. But you can't get in the program unless you have good math skills. You got to know something about technology. So the average student not going to get that in high school. So the churches and the community organizations can get programs together, 6-week program, 8-week programs, where they teach you learn how to make a drone, how to fly a drone, how to fly an airplane on an assimilator. You don't need a real plane. And then you get your certification. Then you go to the community college or a senior college and get in those aviation programs, get in those agriculture programs. You already know about financial literacy, and you will be able to be competitive. But you can't depend on the public schools to do it. They have not done it since so-called integration, and they're doing less of it today. They've cut out all kinds of vocational and technical programs in the public school starting in the mid-1960s. Prior to then, anybody could go to a black school and learn 2 or 3 trades by the time they finished, if they wanted to do so. Because everybody couldn't be a teacher and sell insurance. That's what blacks were trained to do, be a school teacher, sell insurance at a funeral home, or be a preacher. When I came along, up until the 1960s, didn't talk about going into business. So now you can do anything you want to do if you have the skill and the will and the certification. Now you heard me say certification. I said nothing about a degree or diploma or nothing like that. You don't need that. You need to know how to build that drone. You know how to engage in artificial intelligence. You have to know how to build a computer. You have to know how to talk to people in Asia and Africa in sign language and things of that nature, where they can't go and break into your website and change your information. You can learn that without a high school diploma. But the churches and community organizations got to teach it. You have to teach negotiation skills, critical thinking, and all of those kind of things will help the black people and poor people be competitive, because they're only teaching what I just mentioned to 3 to 4% of the so-called white members in society. Now, you know, we, in our schools and churches, we deal with about 10%. They deal with the top crust, because they know they're going to be the vice presidents, the senior vice presidents, the CEOs, and what I call the ruling elite. And they're going to hire those underlings that's under them, the next 3% category, and they will be the assistant managers and managers, and those people will rule the world. And they're going to exclude the people that they don't look like. They're going to exclude those. So now if the poor folks don't get their own resources, get their own programs, get their own mind ready and renew themselves and turn into what I call the new man and have some independence and let the people know that, look, I am a new man. I'm going to learn what I need to learn, educational and otherwise. I'm going to get certifications that I need. And the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to have myself trained where I can defend myself economically, socially, religiously, and otherwise, and physically.
Now, Doc, I want you to continue giving those strategies and those solutions, and you laid it out fairly clear as to if you do these things, you'll be able to change your position in life.
And you can do this, sir, in 30, 60, 90 days. I mean, get the program started. But if the parents were smart, they would start this in pre-kindergarten at home. When that baby's 6 months old, he ought to be learning that he has to work. He has to see his mother getting out of that bed early, sweeping the floor, washing, ironing. And then when he gets 9 months old, he'll be wanting to take the mother's job. See Dad coming in there talking to him, reading books to him, not fussing and fighting with the mama, away from the computer, where they're reading together. That's the way you do it. We call it brainwashing. You got to brainwash people when they're young. Now, if you could brainwash them and show them how to do the bad, why you can't brainwash them and show them how to do the good?
You can.
Of course you can.
You can. Now, Doc, now, to go along with what you're saying, if you're going to be successful in America, there are a few things that you have to do along with what you said. One is you got to stay away from drugs.
Got to do it. Got to stay away from drugs. And my daddy said drugs, alcohol, and bad women. That's what he used to tell his boys. He said, son, if you mess with those 3 things, you ain't gonna ever be nothing. You're gonna be like old Johnny Johnson down there.
What were those 3 things?
Drugs, alcohol, and bad women.
Drugs, alcohol, and bad women.
That's what my daddy used to say. He was strong in that.
And so that still applies
Today. That's right.
One of the most important decisions, young people, one of the most important decisions that you'll ever make in life will be who you will marry.
That's right, sir.
Now, you're definitely not thinking about that, and you shouldn't be thinking about that at 9, 10 years old. But at some point in time, someone has to tell you that that is the most critical decision that you'll ever make in your life. Another one of those things that we talked about is that you got to stay away from drugs.
Got to do it.
That you got to get an education. And even though it's illegal to have an abortion, you got to stay away from having a family before you're ready.
That's what my old dad was saying, and he didn't even know what he was talking about. Bad women.
Yeah.
You get a bad man and a bad woman together, the first thing they're going to do is start creation. That's all they know in most cases, because they have been seeing this and hearing about it. You go and get you a baby, the government going to take care of you. Now they know that no good man not going to give them any child support. They're not going to turn them in because they were told by their grandmother and their mother, don't turn them in, just go and get you a welfare check. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to worry about getting a home. You get in the housing program. Say if things get real tight, you can just go down there and get some WIC. But they're going to cut all that out in a few years. After 7 years, it's going to be harder to get on welfare, harder to get WIC, hard to get into a housing program. Right now, it takes 5 or 10 years almost to get one of the cheap apartments. And it's going to be very difficult to get in school.
You're talking Section 8 housing?
That's right.
Yeah.
Very difficult. And it's going to be very difficult to get in these education programs at public schools, because in just a few years, and they're doing it sometime now, in some areas, you have to take a test to get in certain classes in middle school and high school, even in kindergarten. You got to take a test, and if you don't make a certain score, they won't even let you go into certain kindergartens. And the school system got it set that way where the top students can get in the performing arts school, get in the what we call the SMART program in engineering, technology. So you can be tested out of those programs. Wow. And since computers grade to test, I guarantee you, when they look at the zip codes and the names, you know, they can get you certified now and determine your destiny by your name. So that computer is programmed by certain zip codes and certain names, and if certain people come in there with the wrong zip code and name Suzuki Quisquina Williams, they're going to be kicked out. Mm. They're not going to be in these programs. So you would have to go and protest and say, my child has 30 on the ACT. They had A average at blank high school, and you mean they didn't get in this program? And I see you got other folks there. But what parent's going to know to do this?
Well, Doctor, they're going to know because we're going to keep sharing with them here at We Believe. And our time is drawing near. We're about to run out of time. And let me just say that what we're talking about is fundamentally important and essential if you're going to change the way things are going in your life. Our community is deteriorating. We got to stop it. We got to stop the slide. We got to stop the skid. Got to stay away from payday loans. That's critically important. You just can't win there. We got to stay away from the casinos. Got to stay out of the pawn shops. We got to stay away from pari-mutuel betting and the lotteries. We got to stay away from those things that are designed to extract the wealth out of our community and put it in other communities. We just got to know that that's critically important that we stop doing that. And so we've been talking about some things here today. We got a feeling that there is no need for unsophisticated, untrained population in the near future. That the future is now. Artificial intelligence is now. When you are on the interstate and you see the automobile pass by you with no one driving, don't be startled. Don't think that something's wrong. There will be no need for drivers. There will be these trucking companies. The day is coming when the trucking companies won't need anyone to drive. Artificial intelligence is going to do that. The robots are going to replace everybody on the debone line at the chicken processing plant in Mississippi, the worst job in America. Even the robots don't want that job, but they will take it.
Because they're programmed to take it. That's the only reason. Now, these computers are going to get so smart, they're going to start rejecting certain jobs in the next 30 years.
Even the robots.
The robots. They're going to get so bad, they're going to form coalitions and fight against the people that build them. And they're going to run them out of the factory.
Time is not on our side. Doc says we got less than 7 years.
7 years.
To get this corrected. If we don't do it now, the picture doesn't look good for us. an increase in immigrants coming into the country, a decrease in the skill levels and qualification, the education of the African American community, broken families, fatherless homes, drugs and alcohol. We're on a collision path.
And the other problem is we're living longer. You know, with all these problems, people are living longer now, but they are sicker than average. You know, you can be living now almost dead, and the legislature won't allow you to get with a doctor to take care of your problem.
Can't pull the plug.
You can't pull the plug. So you're just here, 75, 80, 90, 100 years of age, living in a semi-continuous hospice situation. So sick you can't die, won't let nobody see you, and you just lay up there and fester.
When we come back next week, we're going to want to know from you, who is the ruling elite? Doc mentioned them tonight on the show. I have a need to know, who is the ruling elite? Dr. Henderson, we're out of time. You want to have closing remarks?
Well, I'd just like to say I want to thank you for this opportunity again. We've been trying to work together for a long time, and I want the people to know that we appreciate the viewers and the listeners that's always working with us on WMPR radio station. We're on that show every Thursday from 6 to 7. And we have this show, we believe, from 5 to 6 every day. We're going to 139 different nations throughout the world, 43 states, and if they better not put it on social media, we'll be all over the world and all over the states, Canada, Africa, everywhere. But if they want to get in touch with us, all you have to do is call us at 601-201-1957 or email us at clu369@gmail.com. And Mr. Sock and I would get together and come and visit with you and talk to you and tell you about some real solutions that we can't talk about on air.
It's been great. We want you to stay safe out there and have a great weekend. We're planning for a Juneteenth celebration that's coming up. African Americans didn't know they were free in Texas.
We got to talk about that.
We're going to talk about it.